Okay, I thought I would do the problems that were on the test since some people struggled with them. And again, I'm going to emphasize proportions because proportions can mean that I don't have to memorize a bunch of different ways to do stuff. I will try to quickly discuss what to do if you multiply them because sometimes it is easier. If you look at problem number 7 on the back page of the test, it was 42% of $76, okay? So now you had permission to use your calculator on this. If I think about how I want to set this up, remember we're going to have two fractions. And one of them is going to represent my percent, and one of them is going to be my numbers, okay? And on both of these fractions, what I'm doing is I'm trying to think what's the part out of the whole, okay? Now, the percent one's always easy because percent means out of 100. So the percent fraction is going to be 42 over 100 because that's what percent means. If you want to make a fraction out of it, you stick the number over 100. So now all I got to do is figure out what is my part and what's my whole. They want me to find something here. And remember, in class we've talked about how that word of tells me the whole is coming next. Almost always, that's what it means, okay? So the whole here is 76 because it comes after the of. Plus, think about it. They want 42% of 76. They want part of 76, not all of it, but part of it. So the piece that's missing I'll call x. Oh, shoot. I think I just messed this up. We'll see. Maybe it'll go. I'm going to call that x. Now, once I get it set up, most of the class knows how to do algebra. A few of you don't. So I'm just going to explain this for the few of you that don't, and then just hope that you catch up on the algebra part of this later. If we're going to cross, what we do is we cross multiply to solve. And that means we're just multiplying across the diagonals. Let me see if I can't choose something here and get this video working again. It's not cooperating with me. Here we go. So this is one thing I multiply, 42 times 76. Okay, and 42 times 76, you can use your calculator. That's what I'm going to do to make the video go faster. It's 3192. Okay, now what I do is I divide by the thing across from the unknown. So if I have 100 times x, I'm going to divide by the 100. It's across from the x. 3192 divided by 100 would be 31.92. You could check that out in your calculator. But when you divide by 100, it moves the decimal place over 2 spots. So that would be the way you would do number 7. 8, the problem was 6 3/4% of 800. Okay. Now, I'm going to do this with proportions, and I'll come over here and try to remember to do this with decimals. Okay, the decimal method is what the book calls it. 6 3/4%. What this means is 6 3/4 goes over 100. Now that looks a little funky, right? Remember, I'm going to have two fractions. One of them is my percent fraction and one of them is for my numbers, and I'm always thinking part out of whole. So you don't like, maybe you don't like percents. Maybe you don't like fractions in your percent. Change that to a decimal. 3/4 is 0.75, so 6 3/4, you could rewrite it as 6.75. Okay? So I got my percent fraction built now. I need to build my number fraction. If you remember, the word of tells me the whole is coming next. So that 800 is my whole, and all my fractions are built part out of whole. So 800 is the whole. The missing part up here, you could write a question mark. We've been writing X because we've been doing it both without algebra and with algebra because you were taught algebra. Most of the students that were at Sterling were taught algebra last year. But I'm going to do it without it, just for those of you who might still be struggling. You multiply the diagonals. That's how you do this. This is cross multiplying. 6.75 times 800. You've got a calculator. You please use it. So you get the idea of this. 5,400 is what that is when I multiply it. Now, I'm going to divide by the thing that's across from the unknown value. Well, the unknown value is my question mark. What's across from it? 100. So I divide by 100. 5,400 divided by 100 is 54. Now, if I'd done it with the decimal method, I would need to change 6 3/4% to a decimal. And remember, that's 6.75%. And when I change a percent to a decimal value, I have to move the decimal place over to the left 2. So that becomes 0.0675. And when I have 6 3/4% of 800, In the decimal method, of tells you to multiply. So I'm going to multiply 0.675 times 800. Having problems fitting it on the iPad. 0.0675 times 800 would also give me 54. So either way, I should get the same answer. I'm preferring this method because it means you just have to put your part in your whole, and you cross multiply, and you're done, and you don't even have to think about whether I should multiply or divide, which is because some word problems are worded differently. We know that there's a lot harder than this that we've talked about in class. Okay, looking at number 9. On the test, 9 said, okay, here's another one. 36 is what percent? See, here's one where it might be nice to use the proportions method because it's going to make it easier to set up. Okay, usually they tell me something is 30% or some kind of percent of another thing, but here they say what percent. So in this problem, I'm trying to find the percent. If you think about the proportions method, you get two fractions set equal to each other, and you've got the part on top of both, and you got the whole. With the percent, the whole is always 100. But I'm missing what percent, so that's where my unknown value is. I can call it X, I can put a question mark, whatever I want to do, I can do that. Now I just got to set up the part to the whole. That was my percent fraction. Now I need the number fraction. Okay? 36 is what percent of 60? Remember, we see the word of. That tells me the whole is coming next. 60 is my whole. That means 36 has to be my part because that's the only thing left. And if you think about the problem, that is part of the whole, isn't it? 36 is part of 60. What percent is it? Okay, so now to solve this, we're going to cross multiply. 36 times 100 is 3600. We multiply the two numbers across from each other, and we divide by the thing that's across from the unknown. The unknown was X. Across from it is the 60. We're looking at that diagonal. 3600 divided by 60 would be 60. And so 36 is 60% of 60. Okay, so there's our answer. And the answer that we get is the percent, because remember, percent is part out of 100. So when I got the X, that was my answer. It's 60% of 60. The last one on the test was 453% of 30. Okay, I'll work it two ways. First, I'm going to do proportions because I'm trying to get you to see that proportions are always the same setup. You've got one fraction that's going to represent a percent here and one that's going to represent your numbers. And remember, I'm looking for the part on top and the whole on bottom. Okay? So now I got the percent. It's 453%, so it's 453 over 100. Anytime you see a percent, whatever number you get, you put it over 100. Now I've got the word of. What comes after of? Usually the whole does, unless it's a real funky problem that they've messed with a lot. So this is my whole. What I'm missing is the part out of the whole. What is 453% of 30? Since 30 is my starting amount, it is my whole. Now what I'm going to do is cross multiply here, and I get 453 times 30, and that would give me 13,590. And then I'm going to divide by the thing that's across from the unknown. Well, the unknown is X, so divide by 100. And if you think about it, that just moves the decimal place over 2 spaces to the left. I could divide it out on my calculator if I'm not comfortable with that. And I get 135.9. And they didn't tell us to round it, so we want 135.9 to be our answer there.